The tray slammed into my chest, so hard the milk carton exploded across my shirt. Fucking fag. Jake Harlan snarled loud enough for the entire cafeteria to hear. Laughter erupted like a wave crashing over me while I stood there frozen in the middle of Lincoln High's lunchroom in rural Ohio, the spilled spaghetti sliding down my jeans. I was 17 that day in 2008, and the word hit harder than any punch, because it was true, and now everyone knew it. I didn't cry not then. I just picked up what was left of my tray, walked straight past the jocks table, and out the double doors into the cold hallway, where the echo of their cheers followed me like a sentence. By the time I reached my locker, my hands were shaking so badly I couldn't open the combination. Sarah, my only real friend, found me there sliding down the metal door until I sat on the tile floor. "Alex, they're idiots," she whispered, but her voice cracked because we both knew idiots still ran the school. My dad had already warned me about that lifestyle after he caught me looking at a magazine months earlier, so I knew home would be no sanctuary either. The rest of senior year became a minefield of slammed shoulders in the halls, whispers behind my back, and one teacher who suddenly stopped calling on me in class. I graduated with honors, but the diploma felt stained. I left for Chicago the day after the ceremony with one duffel bag and a scholarship that barely covered tuition. College was supposed to be freedom. Instead, it was another kind of loneliness at first. I majored in psychology because I needed to understand why people hurt each other and why I still flinched every time someone laughed too loud. Nights in the dorm, I stared at the ceiling, replaying that cafeteria moment, wondering if I would ever feel safe enough to kiss another guy without checking over my shoulder. Then in my sophomore year, I met Michael in a campus support group for LGBTQ students. He was tall, quiet, with kind eyes that didn't demand anything. Our first date was coffee that turned into 4 hours of talking about everything except the past. When he walked me back to my dorm and brushed my hand, I didn't pull away. For the first time in years, the knot in my chest loosened just a little. But the past doesn't vanish just because you change zip codes. My mother called once a month, pretending everything was fine, while my father's silence on the other end of the line spoke volumes. I threw myself into studies, volunteering at the campus queer center, and slowly built a life that looked nothing like the scared kid who once stood covered in cafeteria food. By graduation, I had internships lined up and a boyfriend who made me believe love didn't have to be hidden. Yet every time I passed a high school group on the street, I still heard Jake's voice in my head. I told myself I was over it. I was wrong. 10 years blurred by in Chicago's relentless rhythm. I finished my master's, became a licensed counselor, and opened a small practice focused on LGBTQ youth. The irony wasn't lost on me. I spent my days helping kids navigate the very shame I once carried, and somehow that work healed pieces of me I didn't know were still bleeding. Michael and I moved into a sunny 2-bedroom in Logan Square with a tiny balcony where we drank wine and talked about adopting someday. He proposed on a crisp October evening under the L tracks, and I said yes without hesitation. Life felt steady, almost normal. Then one Tuesday morning, my assistant forwarded an email from a new nonprofit program partnering with local high schools. They needed mentors for at-risk teens dealing with identity issues. I skimmed the list of referrals, and my stomach dropped. Tyler Harlan, age 19, son of Jake Harlan. The application photo showed the same sharp jawline, the same defiant tilt of the head. Tyler had dropped out of community college after his father lost his construction job and started drinking again. The note said Tyler was struggling with depression, possible suicidal thoughts, and questions about sexuality that his family refused to discuss. I stared at the screen for 20 minutes. The kid had nothing to do with what his father did to me in that cafeteria. Yet every cell in my body screamed to delete the email and pretend I never saw it. Michael found me at the kitchen table that night, still holding the printout. "You don't owe them anything, Alex," he said, gently rubbing my shoulders. But I kept seeing Tyler's eyes, the same lost look I once wore. That night, I barely slept, replaying every cruel joke Jake had ever made about people like me. By morning, I had made the call. I would take the case anonymously through the program. No one would know my connection. The first virtual session with Tyler was careful. He sat in a cramped bedroom, posters of old rock bands peeling off the walls. "I don't know why I'm even here," he muttered. I kept my voice steady, asking open questions, until he finally admitted the bullying at his own high school had gotten so bad he stopped going. When he whispered, "I think I might be different," the room felt smaller. I didn't tell him I understood more than he could imagine. Instead, I listened and scheduled the next session. Helping Tyler became a secret second job. I funneled extra grant money into his therapy, covered the cost of textbooks he couldn't afford, and arranged a part-time job at a youth center where the staff knew how to support kids like him. All without ever using my real name in the paperwork. The program called me Advisor A. Tyler never met me in person. Michael worried I was punishing myself by staying connected to Jake's family, but I insisted it was about breaking the cycle. Meanwhile, my own life kept moving forward in beautiful, complicated ways. My mother finally visited Chicago for the first time in years and met Michael over Sunday brunch. She cried in the restaurant bathroom afterward, but hugged him when she came back to the table. Dad stayed home. Some bridges take longer. At work, I took on more cases and started writing a blog about resilience that unexpectedly went viral in the community. Michael and I planned a small wedding for next spring, just close friends and chosen family. Life felt full. Yet every Thursday, when Tyler's session popped up on my calendar, the old wound throbbed. He was making progress, slowly opening up about feeling trapped between his father's expectations and the truth he was beginning to accept about himself. One night, he texted the anonymous crisis line the program provided. "What if I'm just like the people my dad hates?" I stayed up until 3 a.m., crafting a response that wouldn't reveal too much. The next morning, I wired another anonymous payment for his medication. Jake's name came up only once. Tyler mentioned his dad had been laid off again and was taking it out on everyone at home. I felt a flicker of something dark satisfaction, maybe, but it passed quickly. I wasn't helping Jake. I was helping Tyler. The distinction mattered. The crisis hit without warning. Tyler called the emergency line at 2 in the morning, his voice shaking. His father had found a journal full of questions Tyler had written about boys and had lost it completely. He said I was disgusting, just like those people on TV. Tyler sobbed. I was out of bed in seconds, driving across the city with Michael riding shotgun, worried but silent. I couldn't go to the house myself, that would shatter the anonymity, but I could pull strings. Within an hour, I had arranged a safe house through the network and a police wellness check. Tyler spent that night in a shelter I funded quietly. The guilt and rage I thought I had buried roared back. I sat on our balcony at dawn, replaying the cafeteria scene until Michael wrapped a blanket around my shoulders. "You're saving him, Alex. That's the point." But saving Tyler meant confronting the fact that Jake was still out there, still capable of the same poison. I doubled down on the help. I used every connection I had to get Tyler into a full scholarship program for LGBTQ students at a better college 2 states away. I even paid for his first semester's housing out of my own savings, telling the program it was a private donation. Tyler started calling the anonymous line more often, not just for crisis, but for advice on coming out to his mother, who he hoped might understand. Each conversation chipped away at the wall I had built around that 17-year-old version of myself. I began sleeping better. Michael noticed and teased me gently about becoming a superhero in secret. The misunderstanding came 6 months later. Tyler had improved enough to start dating a quiet guy from his new college. He posted a careful photo on social media, nothing explicit, just 2 young men smiling at a coffee shop. Jake saw it. The message Tyler left on the crisis line was frantic. His father had driven 4 hours in a rage, demanding to know who was turning his son. The shelter coordinator called me because my name was listed as the funding source on some paperwork. Suddenly, the anonymity was cracking. I sat in my office, staring at the phone, wondering if I should finally step forward. Michael found me there. "If you do this, you're choosing to face him, Alex. Are you ready?" I wasn't sure. That night, I drove to the shelter, met Tyler in person for the first time. He looked nothing like Jake in the eyes, soft and searching. When I told him my real name and the connection, he stared for a long moment, then hugged me so hard I couldn't breathe. "You didn't have to help me," he whispered. "But you did." The confrontation with Jake happened 2 weeks later at a neutral coffee shop near the shelter. He looked older, worn down by bad choices. I expected rage or denial. Instead, he sat there twisting a paper napkin and said the words I never thought I would hear. I was wrong back then. I was scared of my own kid turning out like you were. And I took it out on you. It wasn't an apology that fixed anything, but it was something. I told him Tyler was safe and thriving and that I had made sure of it. Then I walked away without waiting for thanks. Tyler graduated community college with honors and transferred to a 4-year school on the scholarship I helped secure. He calls me every month now, not as a client, but as a friend. We talk about boys and dreams and how to forgive parents who never quite get it. My wedding to Michael was small and perfect, held in a sunlit park with Sarah as my best woman and my mother dabbing her eyes in the front row. Dad sent a card. Progress. I still run my practice, still help kids who remind me of the boy I once was. The cafeteria memory doesn't vanish, but it no longer controls me. Some nights, when Michael and I sit on the balcony watching the city lights, I tell him how helping Tyler healed something I didn't know needed healing. He just smiles and kisses my temple. Looking back, I realized the greatest shift wasn't saving Tyler or facing Jake. It was choosing to become the man I needed when I was 17. The man who refuses to let pain multiply. True or false? The greatest revenge is living well and helping those who once broke you, even if they never know the full truth.